This is Boxing Tickets NI, and we're joined with Daniel Anderson. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing really well, buddy, all considering.
Or Dan the Man, as you're better known.
Well, don't worry out.
How's things with you? You keeping well?
Yes, I'm good, and we've got a wee special guest for interview. So we've had a busy day. So far we've had Owen O'Neill come in for a boxing session and a strength and distance session. We've had Paddy come in for a strength and distance session and a boxing session. So he's going to have to go.
Champ is here.
The
I
big
want to see you tomorrow, Morty. See you tomorrow.
You're going to see him on Saturday?
Saturday, sorry, yes.
I see. You've worked him out hard today, Dan. He doesn't know what day of the week it is.
Dan the Man is the man.
Dan the Man is the man. Keep
Well,
on.
here we're close to his fight now, so we're going to let him rock on and get home here, right?
What? How many days out is it now? 9 days? No.
No, not for me.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
roughly.
2 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah. Overnight, Big Purple.
Someone's getting a hammer.
Hey! Hey, Paddy, keep on.
Happy days. So you're keeping yourself obviously very, very busy, Dan. You know, I know you've just finished doing a 100-mile challenge there in February as well. So I was sort of saying off camera, you're looking very buff. You're obviously starting 2021 and probably a new revigored Dan Anderson.
Okay, so I felt I just wasn't bringing the best version of myself last year, so I just felt that I just let everything overwhelm me. I'd opened a brand new PT studio. I was just trying to, I would say, spin too many plates. So I was running a pretty busy personal training business. I was committing to training amateurs and professional boxers as a boxing coach, as well as I was a strength and distance coach for some professional fighters as well. So I was fulfilling far too many roles, and due to this, I became last priority. But now, I've sort of got a bit more time to say. I'm now starting to prioritise my health, being in shape again, building a wee bit of muscle, getting lean again, and I'm buzzing because I've moved on from a studio and now I'm opening a massive professional boxing gym, which I can't show you now because it's not done, but I would love to be able to show you now, but I just can't do that. This is all anyone's allowed to see for a while. So I'm not giving too much away.
Funny, from the pictures and stuff that you've posted online and things as well, you always see the black wall and behind you're going, you know, it's still a secret location as such as yet, and only people that have seen it so far is on a need to know basis sort of thing. So it's a special task, you know. I guess obviously with the pandemic and things, you know, probably a lot of people would have fell into the mindset and things like that of, you know, we're in bad times, eat away, don't train and things like that. But obviously I think you've probably seen at the tail end of it now, it's going, let's get things back to normal and ready. Obviously once restrictions are lifted, you're good to go straight away again.
Yeah. Well, this, as I said, it's sort of realigned my priorities. So the last pandemic, I did do a bit of training, but then I took on opening a studio. I had really stressed with that. A couple of issues right there that didn't work out for me, but it was actually a godsend because now I'm sitting in my dream facility. I've spent the last 10 years dreaming of having my own professional boxing gym, my own strength and distance suite, putting in recovery suite. They're actually, the camera's sitting on top of the pool table now, so I've got a recreation area, so I'm putting a big TV up, the boxers can come in, watch a wee bit of boxing, fucking play a few games of pool when they're not fighting, come in for a pizza at the weekend maybe when the weight's good. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to create something special, and for me, it's been a dream of mine because originally I was a boxer, an amateur boxer who was looking after originally Paddy Gallagher's strength and distance, and then it snowballed, and then the more I sort of committed over the years of strength and distance, the more sort of committed to doing a bit more coaching, and then I sort of fell into doing a lot more corners, and just things have really, really snowballed over the years to the point where I've got my head trainer's license. But listen, I'm sure you've plenty of questions. I don't want to spoil all the answers before you ask the questions.
But I guess it's like anything nowadays. It's once you get into something and you enjoy it, it's a bug there. So, you know, from first sort of doing a corner and things like that, you just want, I want to do more. And I guess that probably labels you to a T, Dan. It's you're probably you're probably still like a 12 or 13-year-old trapped in an adult's body. You're still all the excitement, still the buzz of everything you do, you know. And I guess anybody that knows you knows that you don't do anything less than 100%. Everything has to be perfect, you know. And obviously, if it's not perfect the first time around, you'll own up to it and you'll go, you know what, I'll make it perfect next time around. So, what sort of age then, Dan, what sort of age did you start getting involved in boxing? You've obviously boxed amateur and things yourself. What sort of age did you get involved with boxing?
Well, a lot of people don't know, and they'd be in shock, like, to know that, like, when I tell them, like, when I was 15, like, I had a very troubled sort of youth past. Like, I had great parents. It was none down them, and so it was me. Like, I was running about with the wrong crowd. Drugs and drink was something that was pretty prevalent in my teenage years up till about 21. So I was a bit of a troubled kid. It wasn't that I was a bad kid. I was a pretty nice kid, but I was surrounded by really, really bad sort of company and sort of bad role models. I was looking up to the wrong people, and like at 15 I went to Holy Family, so that's when I sort of started back in. And obviously there's serious talent in Holy Family, and I always kicked myself too, because at 13 I was a very talented runner. I was a cross country runner, and I was in East College. I was a pretty smart, intelligent kid, and first year was a great year for me in school, and then the summer first year I started to take drugs, and everything just went boom. But at 13 it tortured my mom. Tortured her. It's like, Mummy, I just watched Rocky. I don't want to be a runner no more. I want to be a boxer. I want to be a boxer. So like Rocky inspired me to be a boxer, but my mom was like, Mummy's a nurse. Mummy's like, son, there's too much breath. It's too risky. I don't want to do a sport where you're going to get hurt and get hit, and obviously, like, you know, like the brain damage of boxing and stuff, which obviously is prevalent, and we do know. I know a bit more about that, working with like Paddy in some scenarios I've been in throughout my career as a coach. But it was a troubled kid. 15 to 21 was a bit of a blur for me. I started fucking drugs, drinking, rock and roll, and just too much of the wrong thing. And I got to 21, and I can remember coming home to my dad couldn't see me for a shortcut, saying at the stadium, look, that if you're living, like, at one point, like, you potential to be a good athlete. And my dad sort of just really fucking, he leveled me a wee bit. He just sort of put me in a place, and I says, right, Dad, we'll see you this year. I'm gonna get in shape, and I'm gonna go to a boxing gym, and I'm gonna sort my life out. And like, it did. Like, boxing completely changed my life. That's why I think for me, I have such an emotional connection, and I feel like I have so much to offer, because I understand the other side of life. I've been to that really dark, shitty place where I've been really unhappy, and and I know that boxing, I would say at about 21, 22, I started taking it serious. 23, 24, I was fighting in around senior intermediate level. I got some great experiences. I was away with a team, Boxing America. I was away with Tommy McCarthy, Mick Conlon, Roy Sheehan, Tyrone McCullough. So guys that went on to do great things in boxing. So I had a decent enough amateur career. I had a lot of good experiences, although I always feel like it didn't fulfill the potential that 13-year-old who was running up and down mountains could have fucking fulfilled as such. Do you know what I mean? So it's a tough one for me, because it's like, woulda, shoulda, coulda a wee bit. And then that's why when I work with a fighter, I give them absolutely fucking 110%, because like I wish when I was a young lad, someone would have grabbed me and went, yo, this is the way to go for you. You know, as I said, 13, I was a really good athlete. I was a real fit, athletic kid that was running mountains at no age. Do you know what I mean? So I just wish I'd have brought that to the boxing, but obviously I had a stopgap of being a header for a while.
I think that's the way we all go at times. You know, there's going to be something that takes us sort of off the rails and what we really want to do in life, and then when you sort of look back, you're going, you know, if I hadn't have done that. But I guess, you know, life's sort of planned out for us sometimes, and what's to be is what to be. You know, at least we obviously come back into sort of boxing. You know, as you say there, you can sort of tell somebody, look, well, here I've done things the wrong way, but if you do things the right way, look what you're going to get.
Absolutely, and like you can't buy, borrow, or steal experience, and like the experience that I've had through boxing completely transformed my life. Then going down and becoming a personal trainer, and then realizing early on, like, I don't want to be a personal trainer. I want to work with athletes, and then becoming a strength and conditioning coach, and then eventually become the professional boxing coach. No, people could look and see this new gym and go, God, overnight sort of success. But like, it's been 10 hard years of graft, and like working with fighters, it's been very, very challenging. Like working with Paddy Gallagher, especially, like the ups and downs of that man's career, and because I invested so heavily emotionally into working with the fighter and working with fighters that like I felt all them blows. Do you know what I mean? I felt the ring the up and down. Like no, you see this photo behind me, and the reason this photo here is that they remind me of how tough.
Isn't it?
I mean, that's at the field. It's me
Yeah.
and Paddy at the field, but that photo's going to follow me right into my 70s, my 80s now, right into hopefully coaching right up for the rest of my life, hopefully, do you know what I mean? So I hope to retire as a boxing coach eventually, do you know what I mean? So, well, not retire, but you know what I mean? So whenever I'm finished running personal training sort of gym businesses, that I can just fully focus on being a professional and amateur boxing coach. So, but that photo's there, and the reason that's there, and it's always going to be there, is to remind me how tough this sport is. Like, do you know what I mean? I should be sitting here and I telling you, oh, he had an amazing career, Paddy Gallagher, British Commonwealth champion. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I can't even tell you that because obviously a pretty poor decision on the night, which we all agree with, was pretty wrong, and it was the commentators in America as well were disgraced by the decision. But I could start crying if I start talking too much about that.
But I remember that picture obviously so well because obviously I was in the press obviously, but a couple of rows behind there, and sort of I remember you sort of looking. I remember Paddy's brother Brandy sort of been over the other side, and you sort of going, "What do you think?" And I was going, "It's in the bag." You know, I think somebody had actually Guy Collin was actually messaging me during the fight, and I didn't realise at the time, obviously when there was a cut and obviously how bad it was, and then he was sending me through the clips, and I was going, especially when we seen the decision it ended up being, we were going, how did it ever get the points, you know? And I think sometimes if you dwell on that too much, it's probably hard to go past, and it's probably been really, really tough for Paddy. I know obviously he's been pondering, obviously does he keep continuing and things, you know, he's a couple of really, really bad decisions, probably one of the worst decisions you can find, you know, should be British and Commonwealth champion, and in a home venue at the field, 10,000 people, you know, it leaves that sour taste in your mouth. It's just sometimes hard to come back from.
100%, and this is like, it just like it's not only a career change of fate, it's a life change of fate. It's a life change of fate for Paddy. It's a career change of fate. Obviously, like that would allow Paddy on to great things, great paydays, the stuff that he's earned, because like a lot of people don't realise as well. We'll use Paddy as an example. Like Paddy slogged through before NTK came. Like though, when it was the McGuigans, it was slim pickings for Paddy because he wasn't directly promoted by the McGuigans, but he wasn't like one of their fighters. So it was slim pickings. Like when we were on the undercards of Frampton, like it was on that like undercards done that corners with Paddy's corner, the undercard of Frampton and stuff, and like it was slim pickings back then. It was really hard to get fights. You know what I mean? It was very, very hard to get fights. Like, before obviously boxing booming now, you know what I mean? It's absolutely booming now. Like you have to look at like say MTK, Mark Dunlop, boxing Ireland. There's so much going on in boxing now that just wasn't happening back then. Like, do you know what I mean?
Because there's so many doors open nowadays with it. You know, like when you look back, and obviously I know we're not doing an interview on Paddy as such, but obviously when you look back on Paddy's talents as a Commonwealth gold medalist, you know, obviously he'll probably text me afterwards and say, "What are you bringing up Callum Smith again for?" But obviously,
I do it all the time. I'm the worst for it. I'm the worst, but I bring it up
Callum Smith and becoming a Commonwealth gold medalist, and obviously then coming into pro boxing. Sometimes it's the right doors being opened. You know, normally, you know, a Commonwealth Games medalist, you know, you were getting signed with Eddie Hearn, and you were getting big fights, and he was having to sort of rely on getting called in on the cards. Funny when at Hilo on last week, remember obviously Burnett Haskins, Paddy down for the press conference in tracksuit bottoms and a t-shirt, and he's going, "What's my name doing up there?" And the next thing he was at the table, and everybody was in suits, and he just like a renegade. But it sort of determined Paddy to adhere it, that he just took things exactly how it was.
As a stride, I was with him that day. Obviously, like I was at every like with Paddy, I didn't miss a single thing. Like I was always with the sparring. I was always fucking there to train him. I was always with him. And it's mad too, because like if you think like I basically spent 7 years with Paddy there, and I barely see him anymore. Like it's just mad. It's just mad the way things go, because obviously he set up different wee things, wee business now, and he's 2 kids, and he's loads going for him. And like if he did decide never to box again, I'd respect his decision, especially with the ups and downs. Like the Brad Solomon fight in America, so unlucky. To be honest, I've said this. The
Freddie Hewitt fight in York Hall. You know, like you obviously have never said much about that, but I obviously had seen yourself and Jared and Paddy in the lobby after the fight, and if you know, thankfully sometimes cameras weren't there because the moments you had afterwards, you could see the total devastation. You could see how much you and Jared cared for Paddy, and obviously how much Paddy cared for the sport. I nearly wish there was a camera because I would have seen how much, obviously, it means to it. But then at the same time, you don't want a camera there when you go through tough times.
A guy, like I box myself, and like obviously a lot of amateur experience over the years and fought in different competitions, get beaten semi-finals and fought in Ulster Elites and stuff, and they get beaten fights and had some tough decisions throughout my career, but I'd never shed a tear over losing, and I just sort of went, right, sweet, dust it off, go again, what's next? Whereas like after that Brad Solomon fight, like I actually walked away and I couldn't help it. I welled up. I was like, this is absolutely gutting, and like just the way it sort of panned out, but it's just so gutting at times. The Freddie Q fight, I was absolutely gutted, but when I look back at that, I think that was a missed opportunity on Paddy's behalf, just personally. I think the Freddie Q, Paddy could have boxed better on the night, but listen, who am I at the end of the day? That's the way it all panned out. But the likes of the Solomon fight and the fight over in the field, I think they were just really hard to take, like very, very hard to take.
So how did you first get involved in the coaching side of things? Was it just obviously being good friends with Paddy, or how did it come about?
It was actually the opposite. I think I didn't even really know him. So I was working in fitness first, so it was my first job as a personal trainer. I was there a couple of years or something, and I'd seen this new gym in town called City Centre Gym. Mm-hmm. It was Jared McManus was a partner in it, so I'd sort of seen it and went, God, there's boxing rings and all there, and I was an amateur boxer, and I was like, God, imagine working there here. That would really suit me, you know, boxing rings, and it's something different. And I wasn't happy in fitness first. It was sort of going to fall through. But I ain't going to bounce off a camera because I ain't getting cold. I'm shivering a bit. I'm going to go over and stick my hoodie on. Jared reached out to me then and says to me, would you be interested in coming to see in our new gym? Because he'd seen that I was liking a load of stuff they were putting up on Facebook. So I went down and checked it out, and I thought, God, for what I wanted, 2 boxing rings and a good weight area, it was like, this is the best move that could ever happen for me. I want to train more boxing, and I want to be in a gym that's more involved in boxing, because I was an amateur boxer and I was a personal trainer. So I moved there, and then I met Paddy, and Paddy was over. He previously worked with Paul McElroy. He was pretty respected, still is a very respected guy for working with guys for strength and distance, and done a lot of good things with guys like Paddy when they were younger. But they sort of split from Paul, and Jared set up a separate gym away from Paul McElroy's gym. Mm. So Paddy was over doing a bit of training all by himself, and I was watching him do it. It was sort of going, God, that guy could do a bit of help there, like, no. So I just went over, just getting a wee bit of advice, like, change that about, no, you maybe need to work on that more, and just simple advice in his technique. And I at that stage realised that I wanted to be a strength and distance coach. I didn't want to just be a personal trainer. So I started to work with a couple of wee athletes here and there. And then when I got the opportunity with Paddy, it made me evolve, because it was like, right, like I'm working with a top fighter here. This guy was a Commonwealth Games gold medalist. I need to go and get qualifications. I need to go and get this. So as you can see over to the other side, that's my strength and distance qualification. So I went on and got qualified. I'd done courses, and I've always sought knowledge, so I've just constantly wanted to evolve and get better and get better and better. And Paddy was definitely part of that thought process. So when I started obviously working with Paddy, I promised Paddy, I says, Paddy, every opportunity I can, I want to better myself as a coach to work with you and give you the best version of myself as a coach. And it all just sort of evolved and snowballed. So I didn't even know him. Like, I knew who he was, because I remember watching the Commonwealth, he was going, geez, I watched all fighters. Like when I was a young amateur, like I never missed anything. I was at all the fights. It was at all. I went to anything I could possibly go to just to learn and get knowledge. Like, do you know what I mean? So, because it's sort of like I was sort of pushing later on. I was in my 20s when I really took boxing serious, whereas a lot of them were doing it from they were no age. Yeah. Obviously, I didn't have that luxury, so I was keen to learn and watch other fighters and be around good fighters and stuff. So for me, it was opportunity of a lifetime working with Paddy, and then I took up open arms, and the last 7, kind of 8 years here, 8 years now, it's been a constant thing of evolving. Where me and George set up a great team. At one point, we had it was Paddy Gallagher, Lewis Crocker, Stephen Donnelly, Big Taylor McGoldrick. I don't want to miss anybody now. I'll get myself in trouble here.
Conrad as well.
Conrad was there as well. No, and it was just such a great stable. And I think obviously the big blow was behind it there, where the British Commonwealth title didn't work out, and I think it just took its toll on Jared, and it just took its toll on the team. And then Jared sort of stayed working with Anthony, and I was doing a wee bit with Lewis, and then sort of everything just sort of split. And then that's how I end up saying, right, I'm ready now. I've worked under different coaches. I've worked with Jared. I've worked with Paddy's my brain. I've worked with I worked with Jared again the second time round. I sort of teamed up with Ian, the idea of, right, you're going to have your fighters, I'm going to have mine. And then I went and sort of got my head trainer's license and set up my own gym off the back of it. So I've just realised where my heart's at now. Like a lot of the camps, I was the one going like to the spars and taking people sparring and doing the corners and sparring. And although I've been the second, I've been like a sponge the whole time. Like anyone I've been around or any fighter I've worked with, like I constantly learn, adapt, and overcome. You know, that's something that I'm very keen on doing. I always want to become a better coach in any way I can. And I think due to my years of experience as an amateur boxer, and obviously having a bit of a flawed start as a young lad and being a renegade that just went to a boxing club for the crack, do you know what I mean? And then obviously taking it a bit more serious, and then having the experience of working in America with Paddy and being involved in title fights, and now obviously it's a whole new thing now, like with Paddy and Owen, and still sort of like build my own wee team as well now. So I've a lot going on, like, you know what I mean?
And I know from obviously doing Paddy and Owen's interviews, obviously they're coming on leaps and bounds. You know, sometimes probably the work that you would do with them would sometimes be overshadowed because obviously what's in the ring. But obviously the preparations to get them in the ring sometimes are so important that we've seen obviously Paddy's last fight. You know, it was pretty much like a Nicolas Cage sort of film. It was gone in 70 seconds.
Hammer time.
There's so much more layers that's been added to Paddy's game, obviously, since he left Ray and obviously moved to yourselves and things like that. We're now seeing an extra version being added to him, and obviously Owen's I think his stage is probably Owen slept in the gym. He's been probably training that much this last year, waiting for his next fight. You know, so I think probably lockdown's probably going to see the next version of these fighters coming through, and probably more of what you've done with them, with their strength and condition, obviously helping with their fights.
Okay, yes, and then anytime like they're stuck, like I'm there, like for example, like these a lot going on. So these away with Lewis here. So obviously the boys will be doing pods with me for that time that they're away. Probably done a 10 rounds of pod, or probably done an 8-round boxing test now. One done a 10-round one this morning, me as well as doing the S&T. So like I can obviously filter in and help them with boxing whenever D's not available too. So it's sort of it's a good working relationship with them. And me and D, although obviously I've decided to go and do my own thing, me and D are still very friendly. A lot of people don't realise the first ever professional boxing corner I done was D's. So that was the first. It wasn't actually Paddy's because D came about at that time in the comeback, and like the first corner was D's. There's actually it's a video. No, I think there's no photos in, but there's a video of the fight, and it's me and Jared in the corner. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's just about working together as a team, and like same now. So the weekend after Paddy's fighting, so me and Owen's obviously the one's like a wee brother to me. So I'm flying to go and be head trainer for Owen that night and do his corner. Obviously, D still is head trainer, but I'm filling in that night because we've got Paddy fighting, and me and Owen's going to be away at the same time Paddy's fighting. Do you know what I mean? Paddy's fight's obviously a massive fight, whereas Owen's still a massive fight for Owen, but obviously it's a journeyman. It's not a bigger fight, so I'm happy to fill in there and help out where I can. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's sort of
having the experience to do it.
It gets you sort of back. You know, it's
back in the corner. I missed doing the corner. It's really, I was doing corners non-stop, like something like maybe 6 to 10 times a year, non-stop for years on end. Like I've had a whole year, over a year without a corner. I think it's doing my head, and I can't wait to get back in the corner. We'll go over to the Owen's corner for this fight.
Like it's probably what was the last time you were in a corner was what, 1st of February. Last show I was at 1st of February last year.
2 back to back. Do you remember? It was 2 back to back in one. The maddest night ever for me and Dave. Mental.
And you know, when we're thinking back to last year and stuff as well, you're sort of going, you know, we're getting 2 shows in the one night. 2020 is going to be a massive year for boxing, and then the pandemic hits, and now you're sort of going to yourself, what do you do in them in the corner? You know, they stand this way, they stand on my arms this way, what do they shout, what do they do? You know, and I'm sure it'll all come flooding back whenever you get to Luxembourg on the 20th.
Well, I've still been doing, I've still worked with a lot of amateurs. I've still been doing like corners, doing sparring. I'm building a great wee sort of relationship with our own boxing club, where there's a couple of amateurs in particular, a kid to watch out for, a kid called Brian Morgan, another kid I'm working with, Corn Spence. They're coming on leaps and bounds, and just because they're extremely dedicated, and obviously during the last lap time when they're able to train, like they put the work in, and like, there's as I said, there's a lot of positive stuff going on at the minute for what I'm trying to achieve. Do you know what I mean? I'm working with the likes of Conor Cook and Big Taylor McGoldrick and another fighter I'm not going to mention just yet, working with me, who's also a Commonwealth Games medalist, but we don't want to mention because he hasn't confirmed he's going to come back, he's going to fight again. So I'm working with a lot of good guys, and I'm surrounded by good guys. And like, see, the best thing you can be as a coach is just be willing to be there for a fighter. And like 90% of life's showing up. Obviously, you have to have the knowledge and the experience to back it up. But for me, spending the last 8 years, I would say, serving my time, working with and working under different coaches over years, it's put me in a great position. And obviously, being a qualified strength and conditioning coach, it gives me a massive upper hand when I work with a fighter, because I know exactly physically what they need, as well as I know boxing what they need. And obviously, yes, I'm still young as a coach. I'm 33. I want to spend the rest of my life become the world-class boxing coach. I want to be someone that people like want to work with for the next 30, 40 years. Like at the end of the day, eventually I will retire from having anything to do with like a gym or personal training and just be a boxing coach. Do you know what I mean? So I want to obviously be really successful in my personal training business and have that really well set up eventually, and hopefully sell that on and just maybe open a wee small boxing gym that I can work on myself. But at this stage, I've got this cracking gym set up now that obviously I can't wait to show everybody when I'm going to open. I'm tanning with Ardoin because I still love working with these amateur kids, and I love giving back to the amateurs. Like at the amateurs, there's no money involved. It's basically purely selfless. So it's me giving back to the sport. Obviously the pros, yes, there's a wee bit of money involved. It's nothing to get excited about. No. But do you know what I mean? There's more money in being a PT, like, do you know what I mean? We're doing a PT.
There is. And you know, funny, I had Peter Graham on yesterday. Obviously, it's getting his pro license at the moment there as well, and taking on boxers. And you know, you're sort of saying when you look back years ago in boxing, people obviously didn't stick to diets. People obviously didn't do strength and conditioning. They probably didn't even know what it was. They went S&C and they were sort of going, "What's that?" You know, they didn't have a clue. Whereas now it's so important. You know, like probably using Owen O'Neill for an example. Owen's obviously still in the early stages of pro career, but the work he's doing now with diet and S&C is going to help him to the stage he gets to title fights and things like that. You know, when he gets to the likes of the Sean McCombs, your Crockers, your McCrory's, it's preparing him very well for it. And it's such an important part of boxing nowadays. As I say, it's a layer it's been added that people sometimes forget about. And if you don't do S&C and you don't do a diet nowadays, you might as well just have one fight and sort of retire.
Well, I do feel you're getting left behind, and like obviously everyone has their own methodologies and their own way of doing things, but like I see a lot of stuff, and even I see the top level fighters just, in my opinion, following the race sort of training methods at the time, and it's hard too because it's not my place to say anything. They choose their camp, they choose their S&C coaches, they choose who they want to work with, but it's frustrating for me at times because you're sort of like, you just see stuff and you're like, well, I reckon I'd do a far better job there. And I'm not being disrespecting anybody, I haven't mentioned any names there, but yeah, I just think that anyone who's sort of, if they're missing out on working with an S&C coach and they're not sort of getting some of the regard to nutrition, they're missing a massive part of the sport developing, because like sport evolves. Yeah. So every single sport, like for example, they said that no one would be able to do the 100 meters in 10 seconds. Sure, that's been broken many times. They're all doing it in 10 seconds. They said that no one would sprint or no one would be able to run. It's been broken. So like they say all these things, but that's happened through the advancement of athletes, through sports science, through strength and conditioning, through like great nutritionists as well. So like I am very, very lucky that like obviously I do have experience working with fighters, do experience being a boxer and obviously being able to coach boxing as well. as having the strength of this qualification, but I'm also surrounded by great guys like Tony O'Neill, who I trust, and I can always ask for advice on nutrition. You would trust in the work of fighters. I know obviously Stephen Floyd's got very popular recently, and he's done a great job with a lot of fighters too. But like there's a lot of great guys out there doing great stuff, and like it's just, if you're not jumping on that bandwagon, you're missing out big style. That's just personal opinion and a bit of advice to young fighters coming through. Just
yeah, but definitely has. So I know we sort of spoke about it a bit there before in America, but tell me obviously some of the places that obviously the boxing's been able to take you to.
Oh God, well, a lot of it's been England. Like so, like we've had like with fights in Scotland. Obviously, the Gary Murray fight. Obviously, it's not one that we'll talk about a lot. But like the beauty of Gary Murray is like me and him's become really friendly now. His wife and my wife are like best mates on social media. So we're down to meet up. So like me and Gary actually I done what we video call him, showing him around the gym and stuff. I'll tell you more the people I've met, because the people I've met stand out more. The places have been amazing, but the people I've met is unbelievable. Like so. But Gary Murray, he's become a great contact. I mean, him's talking about after the pandemic's over, him bringing a team over to my gym, and then me bringing the team over to whatever gym he's going to be working in, and maybe arranging sparring and getting a bit of a relationship between back and forward to Scotland and stuff. So obviously Glasgow, I've had loads of fights in London. Jesus, I get sick to death of looking at London. Most London events haven't worked out, so I'm not as keen on going back to London, but obviously I will if I have to, and obviously hopefully the next time I go it'll be obviously getting a good win over there. But America probably was one of the best boxing trips and boxing experiences of my life. I went there, America, obviously to fight as an amateur, but going as a coach, it was a totally different buzz with Paddy, and the guys we met, like obviously all the Showtime guys. So I got really, really friendly with them, and obviously they thought that I was Irish and the crack and stuff. So like, I bantered with them all night, and it was just brilliant. It was amazing. Like you're sitting with these guys, maybe I'm not too late, like they're sitting having wee pour whiskey, meeting all these promoters, and like these guys, some of these guys are multi-millionaire promoters and boxing managers and stuff, and just so successful in the sport. And obviously getting to meet Evander Holyfield, getting a photo with big Evander Holyfield, is like, God, you fought Mike Tyson, like it's mind blowing, like just stand with big Evander Holyfield too. So like just the experiences, more the people you've met, and one person stood as well, Dave DeMonte. He is one cool dude. Like I never forget, me and Paddy walking through Kentucky and seeing him sitting chilling out, must be before all the fights on, but snapping the window and waving at us, and he's just so friendly and like just mind blowing, like, do you know what I mean? And some of the fighters have even been around as well, like world class fighters. Chris Baron Reardon was a great guy. Like I met him, I thought he was outstanding. Our guy Francisco Santana he was an absolute gentleman. Like, these guys were sparring with Canelo and fighting. He's like, these guys are at the top of the crop. No, it's the people I've met through the sport. I would say it's been more than just the places they've been. That have been amazing. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's a memory. Sometimes it's left behind, and you know everything that's went through. You know, you mentioned Gary there. Obviously, never knew Gary obviously before the fight with Paddy, and you know afterwards.
We're so friendly now.
Yeah, unbelievable. You know, obviously he was down in York Hall for the Kuwait fight.
One week second. Sorry, sorry about that. The interruptions now. Sorry, buddy.
I was sort of saying there, Gary Murray obviously, you know, didn't know him obviously before the fight with Paddy. I've obviously spoke to him quite a lot since. Obviously met up with him in York Hall for the Kuwait fight and things like that. And you know, it's a memory sometimes you have in boxing. Like I think Gary Murray was doing the corner last week in the MTK show.
Yeah.
And I texted him and I said, "Geez, there's a beautiful guy here on the TV." And he just was laughing faces back. You know, obviously between fights he was sort of there messaging, you know, what did they think in such a fight, but became really, really friendly with them. And you know, he probably had a sad end to boxing in a way, but you know, because of what he's done in the sport and how he's bounced himself back, and you know, you probably look at him now, you think there was never a thing wrong with him. But obviously he's had his memories and stuff in sport and stuff as well. And I know I've obviously spoke to him before. Obviously, I think the anniversary of the fight was up, and I said to him, look, I'm not going to put anything up about it, because it wasn't just him that's affected by it, because him and Paddy got really, really close out of all that in the end up.
Okay, yeah, no, exactly what you said, but he just boxing needs good people. Like, do you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not going to say there's a lot of bad people in boxing, but there's some people in boxing, obviously, that are in it for financial reasons. Some people are in it for all different reasons. But Like you need the fighters that are likable characters. Yeah, you need the coaches that are willing to put the work in and willing to commit. And that's the most important part of boxing for me personally. Like, do you know what I mean? It's having the characters in it that make the sport. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. You want to say it's a thankless task sometimes. You know, probably, you know what, 7-8 years ago, obviously when you started out, you know, you probably thought, ah, it'll be all right, a walk in the park, but pretty much a lot of that time's been done as a voluntary basis, because if you were to work out how much you've got for the fights, for the hours you put in, you'd be probably a minus. You know, you'd be looking how many
No,
zeros is before the dot.
Oh, 100%. No, what I've learned to accept, and this is what's made this great for me and going forward, and probably made me enjoy it more, is I don't expect any financial reward from a boxer or boxing. So if there is a financial reward comes after a camp or a fight, that's brilliant. Obviously, yes, you do put in an agreement. If you're a head trainer, you get 10%. Okay, obviously, you have to get something back for the amount of time and the work you put in there. But I don't see that as a business venture for me. Boxing's there because I love it. It's going to get me out of bed when I'm in my 60s, my 70s, right up till I'm an older man. So eventually, obviously, I will just retire from anything to do with personal training business, and I'll just be a full-time committed to a boxing coach. And hopefully it's sooner rather than later, depending how well this gym does. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, it's something that I don't see it or really want big financial gain for it. If 10, 15 years down the line, I am in the position of a world-class boxing coach. I do have world champions. I do have British champions coming through, or European, well, not what British titles, say European champions. If I do have like all these high-level fighters, and yes, there is a financial reward from it, that's amazing. That's 10, 15 years of hard labour to get it to there. And like I understand now that like if fighters come to me and they want to do a session, I would struggle to take money off. Like some of the amateurs came to me that are working with me now, wanted to pay me for extra sessions, and I struggle with that. I'm like, I love this. I don't want to take money off you. I want to teach you and show you what I've learned and show you what I can teach you off the back of my experience as a boxer and now as a coach. Do you know what I mean? So I get a lot more. Boxing for me is like a selfless thing. It's about giving to the sport. It's to change my life. I could have been a fucking drug dealer in my 20s and been down the wrong road and end up being a scumbag. You know what I mean? Whereas now, I would say that I'm a very well respected guy where I'm from in North Belfast. A lot of people, they couldn't really say a bad word about me because all I do is try and be kind to the people around me, and I try to help out with the amateur boxing club. I do a lot of charitable work. I realised this is my way for maybe the years where I was a rogue. This is my years of making up for being a rogue. And a lot of people will be shocked when they hear that story. Like, not everyone knows that story, that I was very much a rogue from about 14, 15 up to about 21. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think Paddy Gallagher would probably call you a rogue regardless.
I'm a business rogue. I'm a business rogue.
Business rogue. So when are you looking to obviously open up the new gym then? I'm looking forward to getting a goal on the pool table. I think I'll be a shark.
I'm opening up to obviously professional fighters at the minute, so I'm able to do a wee bit of stuff for that there. That's only the thing that's taking me over. Obviously, like I've said to a couple of lads, I'm really melted this week. You know, like I really thought that we were going to get dates. So I thought, right, this is us. We're going to know when we're opening. So I'm hoping to God we're getting open in April. Like obviously, keep working with the fighters, and obviously putting a lot of time and working with myself, getting myself back to being the best version of me. Because when I'm the best version of me, I can give not only the fighters, my wife, I can give everyone around me, my family, the best version of me. So me looking after myself, getting really fit, getting really healthy. Obviously, I've got ambitions again in sport myself. I'd love to do a triathlon. I was playing a bit of football for the crack, just stuff that I enjoy. So I'd love to have an exterior focus that's not boxing, because obviously my days of boxing are long and gone. Like obviously with being so committed as a coach, do you know what I mean? So I sort of lost my train of thought. I'm here as bad as Paddy. I'm way on a run.
You go. What was the question again?
Sorry, what was that question? So what I was trying to get at, when am I trying to open? Well, let's just pray to God that we're open as soon as possible, because I have a lot of clients that are absolutely dying to get back to doing a bit of pads, dying to do a bit of like strength and conditioning and personal training. So many people that are dying to get back at it. And obviously COVID's been really tough mentally on a lot of us, me included, and I'm sure yourself know. It's been such a tough time, and stripping away the things that we love, like being able to see family members and like have obviously family gatherings and simple things like going for a coffee with your mates, or simple things like going for a bite to eat, or being able to go and be a corner man and go to shows, and like obviously being a fan and going to a boxing show and buying a ticket. Like all that stuff's been completely squandered. There's so much excitement to come, but it's just when's it gonna be? It's like it's so frustrating. So I hope to God that I don't want to say the Muppets in hell, it's a bit harsh, like, but hope to God whatever's going on up in Stormont, that let us know the date that we're going to open as soon as possible. I hope it's closer to end of April rather than May direction.
Yep, and I know Connor Cook obviously put up obviously you're training now. He put up a post on Instagram this morning, sort of saying, "What's the first thing you're going to do when lockdown ends?" And I replied back and said, "I'm getting ringside seats to boxing somewhere, because you don't realise sometimes how much you miss it. Like obviously getting to see shows every week, but being an armchair fan's not for me. I want to be as close to the action as possible. I want the laptop covered in blood, from watching fights and being going crazy on the keyboard and things like that. But it's the same things that I love so much that I've just been missing. And obviously boxing returning properly means more and more fighters getting back out in the action, because it has to be very, very tough. Not only obviously for yourself working for them, but using Owen there as an example. He's obviously had a couple of fight dates come through, training for them.
Really?
All of a sudden there's no fight, and you're going, what's going on? And obviously Owen's been through a bit of a tough time. Obviously, recently obviously losing his grandfather, and obviously losing a really, really good friend, over a year ago and stuff as well. So, but he's used his time very well. He's been religiously in the gym. He's probably standing at the door before you even open in the morning going, come on, Dan, where are you? I want to get going.
Oh, absolutely hungry, so hungry. And Owen O'Neill, like, if you give me that more dedicated kid, like introduce me, I would just, one person would shout out, and one of the best athletes that I've ever worked with is Aidan Walsh, and he's a scary talent. Him and his sister Michaela are both scary talents. So like there's some serious talents in the amateur game in Belfast still coming through. I know obviously I'm going to mention them all there, but I worked with Aidan and Michaela before they qualified for the Commonwealth Games. I was doing a wee bit with them, and I worked with Aidan right up till he won the Ulster League title, and I worked with Michaela till she won a European title. And then once obviously that happened, they went on the high performance. I was just doing all the S&C that were trained up Monkstown and stuff. But like I've been around some amazing fighters and great athletes over the years, and like Owen's work ethic and his work rate is amazing. And just want to give a massive shout out to an absolute North Belfast legend. And another sad loss for Owen was his uncle Geraldo, his great uncle Geraldo, who was a man that a lot of us in North Belfast looked up to, and God rest him. So we just want to give him a wee shout out, because it's just past there.
Listen, I say it's been tough times, but I say it's tough times don't last. It's obviously tough people do.
Yeah.
Sort of want to mention something, we sort of haven't done anything sort of pre-programmed or anything. You're a bit like Paddy Gallagher, where you could give you any question, you can obviously be able to work it out very quickly. But a lot, me and you spoke obviously ourselves obviously in a lot of stuff in mental health. Over the last couple of years, because obviously there's been a lot of mental health issues, particularly in North Belfast and stuff as well. And you've lost friends and stuff to mental health as well. So you're a massive advocate for mental health, and I think you've actually, was it your Santa run you done at Christmas? Was that mental health?
Santa run was actually me and Paddy. So I dressed up as Santa and Paddy dressed up as Grinch. We had the great idea, it was my great idea, to run from the Odyssey in December the whole way up the Crumlin Road, the whole way up the Horseshoe Bend, the very top of the mountain. So it was great crack, but Jesus, it was sore on the body. It was sore on the body. But in that case, it was actually, what was it for? It was for the North Belfast project for the Ardon Association. They were collecting toys and they were collecting food parcels and stuff for families for Christmas. So that was a great charitable cause. But I have done a lot of different sort of mental health charitable stuff over the years. I did plan on trying to do like a wee white collar boxing show before all the pandemic kicked in, and it was for a great charitable. I don't know if it's exactly a charity, but a group called Move Your Mind, a great guy called Keaton Moore. So I think Frampton and Sean McCollum and different guys of war stuff, Paddy McCrory, all war stuff. So I think it's wee simple as wee butterfly, but move your mind. So doing stuff for mental health is definitely something that I'm really keen on doing, and I hope to be able to in here. I'd love a project, and I've talked about it before, like a project in here regarding mental health. No, like of getting maybe like a counsellor involved, and talking a wee bit more and taking the elephant out of the room and letting people talk about things that have been good for their mental health and things that have been bad, because no one really teaches you what to do when you lose a parent, when you lose a family member, when you lose like your granddad or someone. No one really teaches you how to deal with that sort of grief, and maybe just people getting a bit more help like with stuff like that, and different things like addiction, and obviously it would definitely be great to be someone who can facilitate and help a lot more with people's mental health. Do you know what I mean?
And I say it's something I wanted to talk about. It was something I did want to talk about, and it was not more over obviously anything else other than the fact that you do fantastic work there for mental health, and I say it's everybody obviously likes to play their part in some way. Like obviously the posts that we put up on a daily basis are more trying to stay in the positive sort of route now. We've probably been drawn into the thing in the past and sort of putting up negative posts, but it can play such a massive part for people nowadays, and the more positives they see within the day, it's only going to end up being in that right mindset and keeping them exactly where they want to be.
No, really, really true, and that's the standing point that I took this year. It's like I want to just motivate and inspire people. I sort of looked at my social media and go, does that inspire and motivate me? So I want to look at my social media and go, am I inspiring and motivating myself? Yes, I am, because I'm doing all these different challenges and I'm pushing myself to be a better version of myself. So instead of putting up the negative, I try my best. Put up the odd negative comment, and then I'll delete it. They'll be like, that's negative, don't be doing that, that's not you. So I try my best to stay positive. As all, I have my dark days. I have lost friends to suicide. I've had different things that I've struggled with as a young lad and things that I've went through in the past. And we all have a bit of history, don't we? We all have stuff that we've went through. But I'm this year just went on a mission of I want to do as much positive stuff and help as much people as possible and be able to show it through social media, and obviously just stay on the right mission and try and be the best version of himself.
Yep, definitely. And I said definitely echo that. So coronavirus, I would sort of say it probably, was it time to reevaluate or was it time to prepare for the future? Or probably a bit of both.
Reevaluate to an extent about where it was going and time to prepare for the future, because obviously I've set something up now that could set me up in a great position for my future. So that's what I'm doing now. So reevaluate, yes, where I was going and what direction I was going as a coach, and build for the future. So I'm looking at this now sometimes we just come in and sit here in my wee chair and just have a look and go, I'm really proud of this, but I'm just dying to get it finished. I've still bits and bobs to do, and dying to get it finished, be able to get it out there and get people involved and get people through the door and have my gym buzzing and take do wee boxing groups and different things that I know people love, and I've got great client base out there that I know that they'll love and I know they'll be buzzing to get back to. I'm excited for all that. Do you know what I mean?
Get the music on, start singing and start dancing, just doing the normal damn things.
That's it. Get the tunes pumping, get the energy pumping, and yeah, get me pumping too.
So sort of looking back, obviously, I've sort of asked everybody this, but what have you thought of obviously Irish boxing during the pandemic? It's only been positive, hasn't it?
Unbelievable. Listen, the work that Mark Dunlop, MTK, the work that people have done, it's been amazing. Now, it's been a sink or swim for some fighters. Fighters that weren't ready to take a step up have sort of sunk a wee bit essentially, but the fighters that were ready to go and swim have been swimming a lot. Do you know what I mean? So it's been a great. No, there's been some amazing fights, and obviously we've seen some great wins for Irish fighters, and we've seen some obviously disappointments and losses as such. But I do think Irish boxing, we're a serious force, and Dublin's a great city and a great fight city, but Belfast is fight city. Belfast is fight, and everyone needs to realise that all around the world. Belfast is fight city.
It's the capital city of boxing.
Yeah, and it's hard to compete with. I know I've been in New York. My brother lives in New York, and I've never been to Catskills now, but my older brother, her family live up in the Catskills, so I'm dying to get up obviously and visit where Mike Tyson trained and go and see where Customato and all the stuff up in the Catskills. I'm so excited about that, but obviously that's a wee bit on hold going over to visit my brother in New York. But I was in what do you call that famous gym in New York? It's just over the Brooklyn Bridge. It's not going to come to me now. It's so famous. There's so many world champions out of it. Someone who's probably listening to this is going to know the gym. I actually have one of the t-shirts. I can't remember. But a famous gym anyway. It's one of the most famous gyms in New York. Actually, Duddy boxed in it. John Duddy boxed in it. One of the Duddies. What do you call it, do you know? Can you think of it?
When I get questions like that on the spot to me, I just have to give up. You know, and that's why I was sort of, if I knew the answer,
it's in my head. It's there.
If you don't have it at the end of the interview and somebody's listening to this, hopefully they can pick it up and send you a message and say, Dan, you're a tube. Here's what it was.
Well, but I've been in boxing gyms in New York. I visited a gym called Churchill Gym. I've done a bit of pads with a guy. It was great crack. More else, that gym, that's really annoying me. They do really good pizza. Right beside it as well. It's just over the Brooklyn Bridge. It'll come to me. But I visit gyms in New York, and yes, obviously the buzz in the gyms is unbelievable. Like, no, it's fake gyms, but I just think like Belfast just has something special. Like, we have something special. No, there's something in the water over here that just makes really tough, hard wee men. You know, like, we're surrounded by hard wee men. That if you can teach them to be a bit more tactical and box as well as be a wee hard man, they tend to make very good fighters.
They definitely do, and they stick to it as well. Sort of want to go off on a couple of random sort of questions, but who would your favourite fighter have been when you were growing up? Other than Rocky, of course.
It was hard to look past Frampton. I know, not growing up. No. There's so many fighters, like, but local fighters. Like, I was in the gym with Frampton, Burnett, Paddy Barnes, the Walshes. No, like I was in Holy Family was absolutely buzzing at one point. Like, I was surrounded by amazing talent, and all these guys. And I obviously I'm still very friendly with Burnett. Me and the Walshes, they're like my boxing brother and sister. No, we still stay very close there. I was one of my coaches. D. Walsh, funny enough as well. He's called D. Walsh. He was an amazing coach. Really, really good to me and always looked after me and technically very, very good. Aidan Walsh and Michaela Walsh's daddy and stuff. But who did I really look up to? I think Rocky was the first one for me, like, but Muhammad Ali for me, like, I absolutely love Muhammad Ali. And see, when we were in Kentucky, like, our hotel faced the Muhammad Ali Museum, and like in the brickwork, it was a picture of Muhammad Ali boxing. And it was mind blowing. Like, I'm massive. Like, Muhammad Ali, he meant so much to me as a person. And like, people say you're GOAT, obviously, and people talk about talent. Like, obviously, past the Mayweathers, the Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, all these amazing fighters. But I think as a person, and for what Ali done for boxing, for me, it's always going to be Ali. Like, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I love Tyson and I love Roy Jones. There's so much. I just love fighting. I love fighting. So. There's so many fighters. I was a massive De La Hoya fan, actually. I was a massive De La Hoya fan. I really, really rated De La Hoya. And Mayweather, I really like Mayweather. Obviously, style of boxing, it's sometimes like a bit more aggressive style of boxing. Although, when you look at Mayweather, the lightweight and stuff, he was a lot more aggressive and stuff. So, there's just so many fighters out there. It's so hard to pinpoint one. Like, I love the story of Vinnie Paz. I love Toyo Gotti, Irish Mickey Ward. No, there's just so many. It's the characters that make the fighter. And for a character all out, it has to be Ali for the character. The character he was unbelievable. And Paddy boxed in his home city, they could be in the corner. It was unbelievable.
Wasn't the fight? There was somebody Ali was fighting. I think all hell broke loose. Was it sort of the weigh-in or sort of the build up to the fight? Was it the opponent or something brought out a gun?
Oh God! Really?
So that all just shows you how obviously rough boxing could have been and stuff back then, but I can't remember exactly, but I remember there was like a weigh-in or there an hotel or something like that, and the next thing the fighter he was fighting or something had a gun, and you know that was how tough it was.
I watched an Ali documentary and I think they were talking about that. I don't know the exact details. Like, trying to remember that, Jim, it's in there. It's just finding the exact details, but I've watched loads and Ali, like, and I love watching them. I love watching the older fights and stuff, like, you know what I mean? He's just one that, like, he's just such an amazing guy. Actually, in the gym, I can't show you because it shows you the gym. I don't want you to see it yet. I have it's like a wee small sort of frame, wee bit. Still, there's sort of different shape to that, like a A4, whatever it is. But it's Muhammad Ali and George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, and it's saying, I don't know, it was only 30 quid, so I don't know how legit it is. But like George Foreman's signature under Muhammad Ali, it's like the poster of the Battle of Zaire, like, so. Yeah. So that was one of the main things for me. It was like, I have to have Ali stuff in the gym, like, so I'll probably get a wee mural or something to do with Ali or something. Do you know what I mean? Because he's the one fighter for me that I just love what he done and the way he done it and who he was the person. Like, do you know what I mean?
And who would your current favourite fighter be?
Oh, really, really, really hard. I love Terence Crawford. I've massively always been a Terence Crawford fan. Before that, I really love Gennady Golovkin. Like, I think because I sort of maybe fought in there in middleweight myself, I sort of looked like middleweights. I actually was a Matthew Macklin fan for a long time before, obviously, Matthew Macklin stopped boxing. But I followed all sorts of random different fighters over the years. But like, massive Golovkin fan. Obviously, you can't look past Canelo. Every time Canelo fights, there's something that can be learned about boxing just by watching him fight. So like he just does stuff and he just does stuff so it just flows. Everything flows. I've just had big Fury. I'm a massive Fury fan. Like, I've actually got a Save Fury glove on. There's a photo. There's a photo when I met Fury back in the day. Like, so I met Fury as well. Like, it was just amazing. Before he made it big, I was in around the time just before he fought Robbie, I think. But yeah.
So you sort of mentioned obviously on Canelo. It's, you know, I think Canelo's got to the stage now. He's had the one loss to obviously Mayweather, but he's built himself that much confidence now that it seems as if, you know, it doesn't look like he's going to lose anytime soon. Like, he's 15. He's 30 years of age. He spent half his life as a pro boxer. I think nearly 60 fights.
16 or 15 he started.
15 he started as a pro boxer. Because obviously in Mexico you could fight earlier. You know, I know one of the young Irish boxers, James Powell, was obviously, he went over to America and fought before he was obviously able to have a license stuff here. But when you look ahead, you know, I sort of want to get your thoughts on some obviously big fights coming up. When you look ahead to his fight with Billy Joe, does Billy Joe stand any chance of beating Canelo?
Well, it depends what Billy Joe shows up. I just think Canelo's too good now. I just think he's too good. Billy Joe could be the fighter to give him good rounds in the early rounds. But for me personally, it's a Canelo stoppage in the later rounds. I think in the early rounds, Billy Joe shows up and box really well. I actually had lunch with Billy Joe one time. So me, my wife, Jamie Conlon, Jerome McKenna, Mark Tibbs, Billy Joe and Danny Vaughan sat in Sláinte, which used to be the bar above MGM before it was MTK, and sat and had food. Obviously, I wasn't sitting at the table with Billy Joe, but I went over and was talking to him and I'll get a crack and photo with him. But like, I really rate Billy Joe. I think he's a smashing fighter. But if you look at the caliber of opponents that Canelo's fought, I know obviously they've been questioning some of the guys he's fought, but he's fought Gennady Golovkin, Mayweather. He's fought some unbelievable fighters. Obviously unlucky against Mayweather that one time. Mayweather being possibly another GOAT in Mayweather, one of the greatest. Like, no one can knock what Mayweather done. He outstanding fighter and unbelievable. In our fight, every time he fought, you could watch something, you'd learn something about boxing. But I just think Canelo's just too good. Would I love to see Canelo beat? I don't know because he's so good. He's so good to watch. But I'd love to see Billy Joe win it. I sort of be stuck on the fence. It'd be great to see him win it, but I just think Canelo's he's just too good. He's too good.
Billy Joe didn't throw any chicken at you then that time you're having lunch?
No, he was really nice to me. I got a photo of him and he was really pleasant. Actually, he's very pleasant. I know he's a bit of a Billy Joe's one hell of a character, all right. These are the characters I'm telling you about that make boxing. Characters like Billy Joe. You've got the good guys, you've got the Rockets, you've got the Message, you've got the bad guys, you've all these characters, do you know what I mean?
And Billy Joe's in there somewhere along the middle there, probably.
Oh, he probably takes all sorts of boxes.
It'll be interesting to see obviously what he does in the build up to the fight. You know, I know whenever he had the run-in with Wilder, I think I was actually sitting in an interview with AFL about an hour before the chicken incident. But sort of, I remember people seeing it and going, we need to get this taken down. But people seeing it in good spirits, sort of thinking, it's nearly a throwback and years ago of what could happen when a boxer meets a boxer.
That guy, and just the whole banter of it all, like people were going, man, Billy Joe chicken and Nando's, like, too. It was absolutely mind-blowing.
I wonder if they ever give the person the money back for their chicken that went missing.
Oh, God only knows. God only knows. Crazy, crazy.
I wouldn't obviously be asking opinions, obviously even more so than obviously I think we're exactly a month away from Carl Frampton potentially hopefully becoming a 3-weight world champion. How do you fancy his chances against Jamel Herring?
Carl's a Carr's possibly a bigger puncher than Jamel Hearn for me. So I think that might be the deciding factor. If could Jamel Hearn weather the storm of Frampton and win it on points? I don't know. It could be a tough fight for Frampton if Jamel focuses more on trying to box him. I don't know. It's a big ask for Frampton at this stage of his career. I do think it's very possible that he goes and wins it, and I would love to see it. Obviously for his legacy, because that's amazing. Like Ireland's first three-way world champion, like that's a mind-blowing achievement, and for his legacy and for his career to go out on a high. I wouldn't say I've seen enough of Jamel Hearn as well. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's hard to tell. Do you know what I mean? And I need to maybe watch a bit more Jamel Hearn. I would say I'd love to watch a bit more Jamel Hearn first before we make a decision. But I'll be watching it in here in the gym, and we're talking about a couple of lads getting the TV up there, and after their fights, all come to watch the Frampton fight. Like, so we'll be cheering them on. And by all means, I want them to win it, but I just need to see how good Jamel Hearn is first.
And obviously Bob Arms dangled the card again yesterday, and obviously saying if Frampton does the goods, he's going to have another fight, probably a farewell fight at home, Windsor Park, again, defending the belt against Stevenson. So what a way to go out at the very, very top. And you know, I put up a post yesterday saying I'd eat the grass on Windsor Park's pitch for a week, just you know, it'd just be incredible. Obviously, coming out of the back end of a pandemic with 25,000 people in Windsor Park, they probably have to build extra on top of the roof to get more people in.
Unbelievable. And hopefully I'll have a fighter on the bill, so I'll not have to worry about a ticket.
Another fight we obviously want to talk about was obviously done and dusted last week, was Ramirez versus Josh Taylor.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolute smashing fight. I've seen Ramirez live win his world title. I was there that night. So I was over in Madison Square Gardens. Mick was on the bill. I had plenty of, it was Paddy's day. So I was well on. I didn't really watch much of the fight, but I actually did go to the weigh-in. So I was at the weigh-in. I don't know if it was the weigh-in or was it maybe like a public workout. I met Freddie Roots that day, actually. So I met Freddie Roots, got a photo of Freddie Roots that day. And I went to see Mick, obviously see Mick and see Jimmy and all in New York. So we went. I can't remember. It was probably the public workout, because they were doing a bit of pads in the ring and stuff. It was this gym deep in New York. And New York's obviously a great fight city as well. That's probably what I was trying to get at it. And I still can't remember that gym, but it will come to me. It's going to come to me, and I'm going to go, I had a T-shirt and all with the name of the gym on it.
I'll text you after the interview when I get it and let you know. I don't want to give you a whilst you're still on camera.
We'll definitely get it. But Ramirez, for me, I was watching Top Rank put out some of his highlights and the way he goes in to stop people. And like, I do think, yes, that's worked for him over the years, but not against Josh Taylor. See Josh Taylor, like I remember watching Josh Taylor in the Commonwealth Games and going, whoa, he's knocking people out in the amateurs, and he was knocking them out hard. And then we started with meeting Josh Taylor as well. When Paddy was working with Brain, we were on the front undercard, and this was just before Josh Taylor came in the Wiggins. He came into our changing room, him and this amateur coach guy with black, I can't remember, he's from Lockend, can't remember his name, his amateur coach, but they were friendly enough and they were chatting away and stuff, and this is just for, and I remember looking going, that's that kid was knocking everybody out in the Commonwealth Games, he's lethal. So obviously I got an incline, he's going to stay in the McGuigan's end, do you know what I mean? So he came into the changing room and stuff, and as I said, it's not even a place to be, it's the people you've met in boxing, unbelievable, like, do you know what I mean? Some unbelievable opportunities that it's presented for me. You know what I mean? But Josh Taylor, I've lost my thought process again, sorry. But Josh Taylor, Ramirez, Josh Taylor for me. I just think Josh Taylor, he'd have the edge on, and Josh Taylor could possibly go up a weight and start winning titles as well. So I think he's one that's just going to keep pushing on.
Yep. And obviously it wouldn't be right if we didn't think of, I think they've said it's all done, and they've been saying for weeks it's done and dusted, it's done and dusted, it's done and dusted. But AJ and Fury.
It has to be Fury for me. Like, Fury's one of my favourite fighters, especially with the mental health thing and what he overcame and achieved. I just think, okay, right, so AJ has maybe a bigger punch, but don't know, because Fury showed he had a bit of more of a punch in the Wilder fight, the last fight. So say AJ has the bigger fucking rockets to let them go, but will he be able to do that against Fury? I think Fury's going to give him a boxing lesson, honestly. And I really like AJ, and obviously I've followed him and stuff, and But I just think Fury's just far too good. He's just too slick. His boxing ability, how he'd play on AJ's head, the main games that he played on the lead up to the fight, like, just for me, it's Fury all day. Like, I would be gutted if AJ beat Fury. I would be absolutely gutted.
But I guess if obviously, depending on how the fight goes, I know that they've signed a 2-fight deal, so we could potentially see them twice this year. But it depends how it goes. I was actually speaking to somebody last night, and they were sort of going, it's for all the belts. But I think the talk is once that fight's done, the WBO will bifurcate it, because obviously the winner of Usyk Joyce has to fight in the winner of AJ Fury within like 90 days. Or contracts have to be done, so that fight can't happen in 2021. So I think the WBO bifurcate it. Then obviously you'll have that rematch. Obviously then again, and then you'll probably potentially have the winner of that facing Povetkin or White in 2022 as well. So
before that, about AJ and Fury.
Yeah, they're sort of talking about, I think it's the one time we'll probably see all the belts on the line, heavyweights. I think everything will probably open up again. And all the belts will start making heavyweight boxing sort of hold again, that people get a chance for the belts.
Okay. Well, the Usyk and
Joyce,
the big lad, Joe Joyce, that's a cracking fight as well, because it'll tell you how durable is Usyk when you've got a bigger puncher in front of him. Do you know what I mean? So, Chisora obviously can punch, but I think Joe Joyce maybe have a better lob, and because you have to remember as well, Joe Joyce was a standout amateur too. He had a lot of amateur success. He used his jab to beat Dubois, and no one expected him to use his jab to beat Dubois. They always thought Dubois would come on strong and stop him, and I was one of them people, but I think that's a very, very interesting fight, and it'll tell you everything you really need to know about Usyk. I think you'll find out how good Usyk is as a heavyweight when he fights Joe Joyce. You'll find out how far he's maybe going to go as well.
And sort of want to leave you on sort of one final question before we sort of let you go. But who do you sort of trying to put you in the spot? But obviously I can understand if you'll not sort of give one answer. But who do you think Ireland's next world champion is going to be? Other than obviously Carl Frampton, because obviously, that's less than a month away from a fight. So other than Carl Frampton,
I would say, can I give 3 people instead of 1?
You can sit in the front.
3 people to watch. 3 people. Yeah. 3 people that aren't far away from it. I would say it could be McConnell first, then possibly between Gary Colley and Lewis Crocker. I think between them 3. I think they're a thing. It all depends on obviously how well Gary Colley comes through his next fight and Lewis Crocker comes through his next fight. But I think Mick's possibly on the cusp of a world title as well. Like, so it's probably between them 3, because they're in that pivoting position where they're that close to maybe pushing on towards that direction. Like, do you know what I mean?
And we obviously have, obviously others are probably close to it as well, and Tommy McCarthy and James Tennyson as well.
Sorry, I'm not forgetting Big Tommy, and obviously James Tennyson. God, I don't want to forget James Tennyson. Potentially another one. I like all the Irish boxers, and I personally know a lot of them as well. So for me, like, I want them. I want as many Irish world titles as possible.
You're right.
I want to see us all do well. Like, but James Tennyson, one to watch out for as well. James Tennyson's been outstanding at lightweight, outstanding.
And one final question, and I'm definitely going to let you go after this. We obviously probably lost one of our probably most talented boxers through injury, and Ryan Burnett. Does it still sort of feel a bit hard? Like, I know when I put memories of 3 years ago, Ryan Burnett done this or done this. Does it still feel raw to you in a way that we're still, we didn't get to see the best of Ryan Burnett, through injury?
100%. I personally am very friendly with Ryan, though. Like, we would keep in touch. Obviously, he's a wee gym now, and we sort of bounce ideas off each other the odd time. A couple of times he's met me and we've trained and stuff over the last while, and we still, it actually reminds me, I want to phone him and arrange to show him a new place and catch up with him. I sort of messaged him a while back there, but I haven't messaged him since. But what an unbelievable talent. And he's a name that sometimes people forget. Like, Ryan Burnett done unbelievable things in such a short space of time too. Like, look how far he went in a short space of time in his career. Like, he just excelled, didn't he? Boom. He went to the pinnacle of it, and there were definitely, like, without that injury and without obviously his career coming to an end, he'd definitely still be talking about Ryan Burdett now. Like, and you'd be getting excited about him fighting for something massive. Like, do you know what I mean?
Definitely would. You know, to say it's probably not just a shame for Ryan, because obviously Ryan was a really, really talented boxer, but obviously it helped even more of Irish boxers becoming more prominent names. You know, because I remember speaking with Peter yesterday, funny, and Ryan hardly fought at home, but when he obviously did fight at home, fought for world title, unified world titles, and people were only starting to really get to know more of Ryan and obviously his abilities in the ring. And we could if we'd have seen a bit more of him, obviously, I guess it shows you that nothing's guaranteed in the sport of boxing and how brutal it can be. But just didn't want to obviously leave an interview with you obviously without some thoughts on Ryan.
No, definitely, and like another thing as well, like just from talking to Ryan now, like he's happy and he's comfortable, and I think he's obviously probably maybe feels that he could have done a wee bit more himself, but I'm sure he's content. Like he achieved his dream. His dream. He actually says to me, like what else could he achieve? At one point, I think I was talking to him, and he says, like, look, I achieved my dream and became a world champion, a unified, and not only became a world champion, I became a unified world champion. So he very much achieved at the top of the sport, which, like, it's a very small percentage more than it does. Is it less than 1% make it in this game? So
yeah, I think it says about 1% will make it in the game. So he's part of that 1% that's got there. Well, look, Dan, well, obviously, thank you very much for your time. We've taken probably over an hour, probably about an hour and a half out of your day, and keeping you from earning some money and things like that, But we want to obviously thank you for your time. Obviously, we will get a good catch up when things get back to normal, and obviously your fighters and stuff training
at the gym
as well. We'll do the next one.
Get you over to the gym as well. Get you over to the gym. Do you know what I mean? So we'll do an interview actually in the ring, and something that I'm interested in myself. Like, start getting a wee bit of podcast going in the gym as well. So a few ideas down the line. It's all coming. Exciting.
Happy days. Well, look,
is this the longest interview you've done? An hour and a half? This must be the longest, is it?
It probably has. I'm probably fearful that Paddy Gallagher's going to ring me and go, I need to do a long interview.
Well, here, all positive on my end. We just got to keep moving forward, and let's just hope that we're back doing what we love again. Obviously, I will be in a couple weeks we on, but we're back to a bit of normality. Fans at the boxing, people buzzing about getting tickets. Us getting to maybe go and work at the shows, and just all them good things that we absolutely love about boxing. And very exciting time ahead. Let's hope it from does coming through at world champion and James Tennyson push on for a world title shot soon. So I can't believe I didn't mention him, as well as Big Tommy, great big guy as well. There's just so much positive. Belfast is Fight City, as I said. No one can take that away from us. No, we're Fight City. We breed something different in the water. We breed hard men that become great boxers.
We definitely did. But look, we'll catch up again soon, and thanks very much for your time.
Legend. Boom. Take it easy. Thank you, mate.